Episode 131, Murphy the Foodie and Old Boston Restaurants. I am Rod Murphy, and this is Growing Up Poor in Irish Boston, a series of my 1950s era Boston, Irish Boston songs, history, jokes, and stories. Note, a related foodie episode 146 covers specifically the old Boston Greek diners and restaurants. Check it out. Dining out probably began in China 900 years ago, and I am so old that I was one of the first customers. It was a really good moo goo gai pan. Ha ha. People have always eaten on the go. Street vendors, roadside inns, and taverns provided travelers with food. The first modern restaurant serving local residents as well as other guests originated in France. Where else? In the 1780s. The word restaurant itself comes from the rich restorative broths served at such French establishments. Parisian chefs soon started creating delicious dishes and impeccable service, and haute cuisine was born. Forgive me this little self promotion. From my youth, I have been adventurous, somewhat fearless, and curious. That includes trying uncommon foods and restaurants. Unsurprisingly, that includes ethnic restaurants and foods. I'm a big fan of Portuguese, Mexican, Near East, German, Indian, Polish, Chinese, Armenian, Italian, and Greek restaurants. Some of my non-adventurous buddies attempting to bust my chops will ask me sometimes, "Hey Murph, have you eaten any grubs and worms lately?" Ha ha ha. But I will begin with non-ethnic Boston area restaurants. This is just a few. Durgin Park, Union Oyster House, the English Tea Room, Lockover, the Parker House Dining Room, and the Statler Hotel Dining Room. One of my uncles was the maitre d' at the Statler. The Parker House was the go-to place for our elected officials, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the AG, other constitutional officers, and many of our reps and senators could be found at lunch or late at night at the Parker House dining room or its bar. Most work days. Much of the laws and deals were made there. My father had a wise guy remark if someone asked him what he did for a living. He would say, "I chase runaway horses in the Parker House lobby." Durgin Park was unique. It was located in Haymarket Square right in the middle of the food vendors, including the wholesale meat vendors. So the clientele was varied. Big-time bankers and business types and families mixed with meat cutters with white coats spotted with blood. Their specialties were pot roast, Indian pudding, and strawberry shortcake. There were also chain self-service cafeterias like Waldorf, Hayes and Bickford's, and Albiani's, which operated like an army mess hall. Customers picked up a tray and moved along a serving line, selecting food from displays or steam tables. American comfort food at low cost was the menu. Breakfast items, sandwiches, hot entrees like roasts or stews, sides, pies, coffee, and daily specials. You grabbed a tray, loaded it with food as you went down the line, paid at the end, and found a seat. It was fast, no frills, and democratic. Now long gone. During my college days, I worked as a bartender for the Silver Dollar Bar in Scully Square. It was owned by an Italian mafia-related guy. Dirty dealing, beatings of customers, prostitution, drugs, gambling, and other illegalities were prominent. As an example, when the bartenders were making change from a $20 bill, we were pressured by management to give back change for a $10 bill. We could keep half the ill-gotten gain. I refused, and I didn't last long. Boston's dining scene in the 1940s and 50s featured a vibrant array of eating establishments with ethnic roots, owned and operated by immigrants and their families. Different neighborhoods reflected different immigrants and therefore different types of restaurants. Dorchester, Roxbury, and Mattapan had Jewish delis, like the G&G. Later, Jack and Marion's in Brookline was a popular Jewish deli. The S&S in Cambridge Inman Square was another kosher deli. The North End had dozens of cozy Italian restaurants, especially after Prohibition. Those restaurants catered to immigrants with authentic Southern Italian cuisine. Cantina Italiana, probably the oldest surviving in the North End. Other North End Italian restaurants were Angelo's and Cafe Bova, drawing both immigrants and curious Americans. Jacob Wirth, or what they call Jakey Wirth's restaurant, a classic German-American beer hall and restaurant in the Theater District, opened in 1868, serving traditional Deutsch fare. There was also a Russian restaurant in Newbury Street called the Russian Bear, and there was a Hungarian cafe, Budapest, at the Copley Square Hotel. The Cafe Polonia in Southie is a Polish restaurant of a much later vintage. Chinatown, located within the Beach Street, Tyler Street, Harrison Ave, and Oxford Street neighborhood, had many Chinese restaurants and shops. Chinese restaurants popularized chop suey, and also they Americanized their dishes, often with exotic decor to appeal to non-Chinese patrons. Several stayed open very late for the theater crowds. Ho Ho, King Wa Lo, Ho Tun, Bob Lee's Islander, and Ruby Foos were operating in the 1950s. Joyce Chen was a popular Cambridge restaurant also. I have mentioned in other episodes that my brother Gary, 8 years older than me, was my guru as I grew up. He was very savvy and often outrageous. It was probably in 1955 and I was 16 and had a real date with Veronica, my new and first girlfriend. I wanted to show her how sophisticated this red-headed meathead was. So I asked Gary to recommend a Chinatown restaurant for my date. He told me about a Chinatown restaurant that catered almost exclusively to local Chinese folks. And he told me the food was excellent and the prices were very low. I don't remember the name. It worked out well. I impressed the young woman with my worldliness. She soon after had introduced me to her Somerville parents, which I think she thought was a prelude to marriage, so I quickly vamoosed from her life. Watertown was the home of many immigrant Armenians, and there was at least one Armenian restaurant on Mount Auburn Street there that I liked. I liked Armenian food also, of course. I frequented a Worcester Armenian restaurant near Webster Square in Worcester until a few years ago. Dining out in Boston for generations has been a way to celebrate special occasions, meet friends, or just enjoy a quiet evening with somebody special. But for many, that also ended overnight in 2020 with COVID. It unnecessarily shuttered restaurants, businesses, and forced people to stay home. I hope we have learned from that disaster, forced by a terrible political and medical leadership. This is Rod Murphy. Thank you for viewing or listening to my YouTube and podcast episodes. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy them, please hit the subscribe button. It does not cost you anything, and it helps me to grow my audience. Again, my thanks.